Hey everyone, this is Leanne from Of Love and Shiplap and the founder of Sub That Tutorials and More. Please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss out on any of our videos, and check the video description for a link to the Sub That US mobile learning library app. Inside of our app, you can find all of our free tutorials as well as exclusive tutorials and subscribe for access to those and our master classes and more. In this Affinity Designer tutorial, we're going to create this fun gift tag design, which can be personalized and also used for everything from photo ornaments to watercolor, buildable character sets, or even these cute animal sets that you see on the screen. This fits the Unisub tag-shaped aluminum ornament available from Johnson's Plastics Plus. And we're going to just walk you through the whole process of creating this really fun and beautiful design. Let's go ahead and get started. The first step will be to download the free Unisub tag-shaped aluminum ornament template for Affinity Designer, linked in the video description. Unzip that file and save the actual .af template into your Affinity templates folder on your personal file explorer. So wherever you happen to save that, I usually recommend saving things to a cloud drive like OneDrive, iCloud, Dropbox, or Google Drives, just so you have access to it wherever you go and don't have to worry about ever losing your templates. If you happen to be using a different software and you're just following this tutorial just to see the process, you can download a Unisub template for that from any supplier. Our ornament is going to be from Johnson's Plastics Plus. I have linked it in the video description as well, and you will find templates in the EPS, PDF, and Photoshop version formats underneath their technical documents in that listing. Once you have saved your Affinity template, you are then going to open it up in your Affinity software. So you come to File and then New or New Document. It's going to open up your document setups panel and you're going to click the Templates option. If you're using version 1 of Affinity Designer, your document setup panel looks a little bit different, but everything is still there. If you have not already added your specific folder for your Affinity templates, you can do that by selecting the Add Folder option and choosing your folder from your File Explorer. I've already done that. You can see right here it's saved on OneDrive, and then I save all of my templates right in here, and you'll see that they'll all appear. So I'm going to select that Unisub Tag Ornament template and then choose Create. So you can see that we have two sides, one for front, one for back. You can actually go ahead and click on that if you want and rename our groups if it makes it a little bit easier for you. You'll notice that there is just 3 lines here. First is our bleed line, and that is the outer edge. We want to make sure that our background and everything spreads all the way out there so that we get a nice full bleed print on our ornament. The edge is for the edge of the ornament. This is just to give us a guide for where everything is and make sure that we don't put anything important past that edge. We're not going to print any of these color lines, just for reference. They're just here as a guide. That's the whole purpose of our template. And then we have the hole just to represent the hole that is in the middle of the, of the ornament where we put our string through. Okay, so I'm going to start with my bleed layer, and this is where I'm going to be putting all of my different elements. I want to start this by adding a digital paper fill. Now you can choose any digital paper you want. I'm going with this idea that we have a family ornament where it's like a present on one side and then it is some cute family on the back side. I'm using a clip art set of penguins because the person I'm making this for loves penguins. So I'm going to do that for the backside for them. And I've linked all of the assets that I'm using today in the video description as well for you. And if you don't have a membership to Creative Fabrica, that's where I got most of the stuff. Be sure to sign up for that. You can get your first month for $1 when you use our group link. Now, there are so many digital papers out there that are great for backgrounds on something like this. I recommend just taking some time and browsing through them. Me personally, I already selected one that I want to use. It's like some cool watercolor snowflakes. I decided that that would be the right kind of look for what I'm going for. So with that bleed layer selected, I'm going to select my gradient tool. In Affinity Designer version 1, it's the fill tool. You'll notice that the fill tool in version 1 has the same little wheel icon that you see off next to my cursor. I know it's really small, but if you're using version 1, that's the icon you're looking for. This is the only icon that's really different. All of them are more or less the same shapes otherwise. When you select that, you'll notice these options in your context toolbar. You want to select context, fill, and then type, and choose bitmap. This is going to open up your file explorer and give you an option to select your digital paper. So I've downloaded mine into my downloads folder, and I'm going to choose this red one here. I like that it has a little bit dimension. It's not all one color like this, but I didn't like that this one was so dark. I really love this green one, but I think that I want to do a green bow. I think that's going to be more of the look I'm going for. So I'm going to do this red one and click open. You can use the handlebars and pull them to resize this and fill your space. As long as you're using a seamless digital paper, it is going to look seamless when no matter how you rotate it or shrink it on down. If you notice any hard lines, that means that your paper isn't seamless. Sometimes seamless papers are only seamless on certain edges, so you can check that out by coming to extend and choosing mirror. And if you choose mirror and then that line is gone, that's great. If not, my recommendation is simply to just resize it until it fills it accordingly and you don't have to worry about the line. So we've got our fill, and now I'm having this idea of having a bow in the middle and then having like it look like an ornament or a gift tag of some sort is tied on the front. I think I'm going to go with an ornament because I already have a bow and ornament clip art set. So let's just look at how I plan on putting that together. This is a set that I illustrated. It's also part of one of the challenges in the Affinity Masterclasses, so you can create your own clip art, or you can go ahead and download the ornament and bow combo set that I have available on my website. I'm going to select my place image tool, and then we'll come to our digital graphics. Don't think I'm too organized, by the way. This is not very organized. Okay, I'm just going to type in bow, and was originally thinking I wanted to do my silver bow, but now I'm kind of leaning towards the green. It's either going to be the silver bow with the green ornament or the green bow with the silver ornament. Those are my two options that I'm weighing. Oh man, I wasn't expecting this to be quite so hard. Okay, let's do green bow with the silver ornament is going to be our plan. So I'm going to choose that. And once you see the downward arrow with the puddle, you're ready to click and drag to size that. So I'm going to resize this in the center. Let me just increase this a little bit so you can see better. And I want to make sure that I'm not going past that edge line. And I also just want to use a good visual, like aesthetically pleasing look at it and say, okay, do I feel like this is an adequate enough space? I always caution you not to get too close to edges, because if you're really close to the edge and you're off by the tiniest bit, it's going to look really obvious that it's not centered. So you can sort of mitigate that by, keeping things a little bit smaller and more in the center. So I want this to be a little bit higher up and maybe shrink it down just a tiny bit. Okay, so I am centering this. You can see I've got that green line that's going through the middle of my circle for my hole for my string. Those lines are called snapping guides. They pop up when you have this magnet icon selected and when you just like click and drag and hold something. They will not appear if you're not holding down your mouse cursor, so just keep that in mind. All right, so I've got this lined up right where I would like it to be. And now I want to add like the appearance of ribbon to match this. We can do this really easily with our rectangle tool. So select your rectangle tool from your tools panel. I'm going to come to where it says fill here. I'm going to click on that, or you can do this over in your color panel. Actually, do it over in your color panel so you don't miss a step. Click on your open circle and choose no fill from that by selecting that little circle with the red line through it. Then select the filled circle, and I'm going to take my dropper and click and drag over here and select a green from my bow. This is going to allow me to make sure that this all matches. And you can follow that same step even if you happen to go download some bows from Creative Fabrica or somewhere else. There is no shortage of bows out in the world for you to use, but I like this idea and I'm going to use this one. So I'm going to click and drag and bring that across the width. And I need a better visual, so I do want to drag this below my bow in my layers panel. So simply select that layer, drag it straight down, make sure that it's still a full line across. See how it's kind of got that like hazy rectangle? You want to make sure that it's a full one across, that you haven't clipped it anywhere inside. I'm going to center it behind the knot of my bow. I'm really just eyeballing it. And what I'm going to want to do is bring in this middle so it looks like it's pinched, right? So that way it'll look like it's actually tied right there. We will do this by selecting Convert to Curves in the context toolbar. You can also just right click on that layer and choose Convert to Curves. Now once it does this, we have nodes that we can adjust. We need 2 nodes in the middle, so we want to have our node tool selected, which is the one that looks like a cursor. Hover right over the middle until you see that green line, hit a node, and then click again for a node. And then I'm just going to use my arrow key on my keyboard to pinch that in, going up to that knotted spot, and do the same with the top. Now when I click off of that, you can see it looks pinched. I'm definitely thinking I want to add a little bit of a gradient so that I have more texture like we have with our bow. So with that little pinched layer selected, I'm going to select my gradient fill tool, which has like this gradient looking thing with the line. And this time we want context set to fill, and then type, we're going to choose linear. Now I want to click on this color box, and I want to have it darker on the edges and lighter in the middle, and I'm probably also going to slant it diagonally some. So we want to set this regular middle shade of green in the middle. So I'm going to click on that line in the middle. So I add a new stop point, and I'm just going to eyeball it. Now I've got 3 stop points. So you know you have the one you have selected is the one that is big. So that one is big. I'm going to select my color. I'm going to grab my eyedropper, and I am going to drag this to the lighter green that's inside of my ribbon, and then apply it. Now I want to go to this dark green, and all I'm really going to do is just drag this along until I get a darker shade of green. I'm not even worried about it like matching exactly, because it's going to be close enough and you'll never tell the difference. So we're going to grab that end dot, the other one as well. We'll select color, and if you want to match this one, just grab that dropper, drag it up to your box, and then click that. Now when we click back down, we can see what this looks like, and we can use our little lines that you see here in between your stop points to adjust how that gradient is flowing. You can also rotate them some like this to really adjust how that linear gradient is falling. So I'm pretty happy with that. Now all I want to do is just duplicate this layer and rotate it to create a ribbon that goes vertical. So I'm going to right click and duplicate in the layers panel. You can also use Control or Command J. I'm going to come up here to my rotation tools and choose rotate clockwise. I'll zoom out just a little bit, and I want to line this up. It's okay if it extends past because we're going to clip it in, but I want to get it close to the top there, drag all the way down past the bottom. And then I need to adjust my nodes first. So with that layer selected, come to your node tool, click on one of those middle nodes, and then just use your arrow key is the easiest way to do it. And I'm going to move it up behind that knot so that it looks like that's where it's pinching. And then let's see, we want to adjust our gradient. So I'm going to come back to my gradient tool and I can move these stoppers. You can move your midpoint, that's your stop point there, but you can also move your line. So we're going to do both until we are satisfied. And then you can click off of it and double check how everything looks. I'm not certain this is exactly centered. It says that it's centered, but I think that my bow maybe is not quite centered. So sometimes that happens. I'm just going to nudge my bow a little bit. This just means that the design itself is not perfectly centered, if that makes sense. Like the knot is not perfectly centered. So we want to nudge it just a little bit to get the right illusion. Now, I did say I wanted to add an ornament in here, but I feel like you could add a gift tag if you wanted. Really, anything is a cute idea. The idea is that I'm making this like a present, like the family is the present. And then on that tag or on that ornament, you can put the family name, which is what I plan on doing, but you could also put just Happy Holidays or Merry Christmas if you're looking for something that's a little bit more generic. On the back side, you could choose to do a photo. You could do watercolor, the watercolor people, the buildable character sets, or you can use something like I'm using with the cute little animal family that just represents the family. So you got a few different options for what you could do on that back side. I'm going to be doing those watercolor animals and I'll show you how I'm setting that up. But first, let's bring an ornament in here. So I'm going to choose my place image tool. It's going to bring me back to my file explorer. And we said we were going to do a silver ornament, right? So silver ornament. And then I'm going to click and drag. And I want to drag this below my bow in the layers panel. So we'll click and drag that down. I want it to look like the ribbon is tied, like the ornament is tied into this whole ribbon. So I'm going to need to resize this because it's a little bit small. I do have the bows already assembled, or like the bows and ornaments already assembled as well. So you have options. You can do one, you can do them already mixed together. I liked this idea because this allowed me to customize more about the size of everything instead of it just being the default size that I set them to. Okay. So that is pretty cute. Now I want to add my family name on here. Maybe just make my ornament a little bit bigger. Okay. Half of designing is eyeballing things and deciding if you like how it looks or not. I like to just move things with my arrow keys because it tends to give me a little bit more precision. But next I'm going to select my artistic text tool, which is your option that has the A. You'll also notice that there is a T if you click that little downward arrow. So I'll select that artistic text tool and then just click and drag to start a new text box. And we're going to type out the. This is the family I'm making this for. And I'm going to center it. And I'm going to need to choose a cute font. But I like to get things in place first and then choose the font. That way I have a better idea of how it kind of falls with other elements that are on the page. I'm going to come up here to my font selection, and I downloaded this one from Creative Fabrica that I think will look pretty good. Yes, I like it. I'm going to shrink it on down. Okay, I want to make this, let's make this red. So I'm going to grab my eyedropper and I'm going to pull a red from my digital paper so that it'll match. And then I'm going to select my Quick FX or just Effects if you're using version 1 of Affinity Designer. And I'm going to come to 3D. And I'm going to increase this up a little bit so I get this nice like chrome look. That's probably the best way I would describe that. I got a nice little chrome look on there. Trying to zoom in so you can see it a little bit better. So I really like the chrome look. That's what I'm going for. I think that is pretty good. Now the only thing I would say is I'm not 100% about my bulb. It's probably just me. I feel like it doesn't have as much dimension as I want it to, but I don't think I like any of the other ones. The only other one I would consider is the gold. Nah. The silver is good. One of the problems with gray with sublimation is you don't get the like dark and light shades are not as prominent, and even here on the screen we have the light zones in here, but they're just not quite as visible as I'd like. But those are just things to think about when you're creating your design. So I'm going to move this up because I do want it to be a bit more centered on my ornament. And then I'm going to put it below my bow layer on my layers panel so that it actually looks like it's on the ornament and that the bow is over top of it. So we just drag that in our layers panel. And ta-da! Now, you don't need to worry about this little red line that pops up. That's just letting you know there's a spelling error. It's not going to print or anything like that. I want to select all of those layers. You can hold down your Shift key and select the one at the top and then the one at the bottom. And then I want to drag it into my layer that says bleed with my background. So we're going to have all of those selected. We're going to click and drag till the cursor touches the word bleed, and it should clip right in. You should see a little group just like this. And oops, somehow we got out of order. That was a little weird. Normally that doesn't happen. It's probably just a bug, but we're just going to reorder, make sure everything is in order how we want it, which it is now. We have our bow, we have our little ties in the back, our ornament, and our name. So this is our front layer is done. Before we export this, we want to hide this blue lines that we got here. So we're just going to select your eye or the circle if you're using version 2. And then this one where we have our group, we're going to come to our color panel and select the open circle and just select no fill. That's all we have to do there. So this one is ready. Now we can go ahead and do the back side. If you're just doing one though, you can export this. All you will do is select that and then choose File, Export. You want to come to your area option and choose Selection Only, and then it will just export what you have selected. So you can have each individual PNG. So if you're creating a whole series of these and you want to have all those, different ones, separate PNGs, you can do it this way. And this could also say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, all of those things. All right, let's do the other one. This one's going to go a little bit quicker. I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do for the back. I'm thinking maybe a wood digital paper, but I also like the idea of just leaving it solid white and having the penguins. So I'm going to start by bringing those penguins in. We can do that by selecting our Place Image tool and coming to our File Explorer. I have these in the downloads. So they have a baby on the way. So they are going to be a family of 4. We've got 2 here. One's a JPEG, one's a PNG. We want the PNG because that one should have the transparent background. So I've got the family of 4. When we see our downward arrow with the portal, we can just, resize that. I got a little too big there. All right. This one has a huge boundary box. See, the blue line around it is just so far away. If you find yourself with that, what you can do is right click on that graphic and choose rasterize, and it's going to shrink that boundary box to the actual boundaries of the design, or of the element in this case. So I'm going to shrink it down. I'm going to fit it right on in here. I don't really care about some of this little parts being not coming through. I am going to make the background white. I'm sorry. So I'm going to choose that bleed layer and I'm going to fill it with white just so I can see this. And I think that what we need is some snowflakes, but that makes me think that this would be better with like an ombre, like it going from a blue sky into white. So we can try that by adding a gradient overlay. With that bleed layer selected, we will come to the gradient tool, make sure our context is set to fill, come to our type, choose linear, except I want this to go the dark point up at the top. So I'm going to snap that to the top of my tag, zoom out so you guys can see a little bit better, and bring this down to the bottom. And then I'm going to click on that color box and I'm going to select my gray node, choose my color, and I want to do like a nice, you know, like a soft, snowy vibe blue. I don't want it to be too dark, but I also don't want it to be too light. All right. So that is much better. We've got this nice, nice little ombre effect into the white, which works really well with the snow that we have down here. Our penguins are well within our boundary lines, if you know, this little edge line that we have, so that's great. And then I'm just thinking some snowflakes will kind of bring this home and tie in the back to the front. You can choose to use snowflake clip art if you want. I believe I have a snowflake font, so I'm going to select my font and then I'm going to look for snowflake. Actually, it might be flakes. All right, we got our snowflake font. I really like this one. It's called DH Snowflakes. It was a free font I found a while back. And I like it because each letter is a different snowflake. That's what dingbat fonts are. So, all right, there's A, B, C, D, E. F, G, H. So I just did a bunch of different letters, and what I'm going to do is right click on that and select convert to curves. And then I have each individual one as its own little snowflake. So let's decide. I don't want this one. This one's ugly. No offense if you guys like that one. It just wasn't for me. And these two I think are the same, or they're really close. It looks like one has less little things. All right, I'm going to make all of my snowflakes silver. So I'm going to click and drag across all of them. Come over to my color panel with my filled circle and choose a light gray. Actually, you could do white on this because we have the blue. So let's do that instead. A lot of times I do prefer to use gray if I'm doing a white background, but since we're doing the light blue, the white snowflakes will work. I'm going to ungroup this group just so they're all individual snowflakes, and we'll just kind of move them around. I don't really have any rhyme or reason. I'm just going to make it fill up this background space some so it doesn't look quite so empty. Now this character set I got from Creative Fabrica, and there were a bunch of different animals that this particular designer had. So be sure to check those out if you are interested in doing this fun little project. So I want to make some that are smaller, some that are bigger. We'll kind of shrink this guy down some. Sometimes your snapping guides can be problematic, so I'm actually going to deselect that so that they don't continue to mess up what I'm trying to do here. Rotate that and make this one a little bit bigger. I don't really like that one, so we'll get rid of that one. That one's good. And since this one's kind of a more traditional snowflake, I'm just going to duplicate that one and put a few more of them on. If you ever find that you randomly vanish off somewhere, it usually means that you duplicated something. All right, I'm going to put this one down here. And let's see. I don't really love this one, but maybe let's put this one down here. I don't want it to be too cluttered because I'm going to add a little snow dust, but I also don't want it to look too empty. Those two snowflakes are really similar. Let's get rid of that one. Again, I don't have any rhyme or reason. I'm just moving them around to whatever looks aesthetically appealing to me. Okay. I think I'm going to move this one back over here, and I'm going to take this guy and move it up here. I'm going to push this one off so it's off a little bit. All right. I want to use my Xenon Galactic brush in the Pixel Persona. This is obviously optional because some of you may not have this brush set. I love this brush set, so we are going to select our Pixel Persona. We are going to come down in our Layers panel and choose the checkerboard icon for Add Pixel Layer. We are going to come to our Tools panel and select the Paintbrush tool. That is way too big of a nozzle, so we're going to decrease that down some. Okay, I'm just using the staple, the bracket key, the one that looks like a sideways staple. I'm going to come to my color panel and I want that to be white. And then I'm going to come to my brushes. I got Xenon Galactic here, and I think I like using this Pandora one the most. So I'm just going to go across this. We'll see what it looks like. Yes, fantastic. I'm going to go a little bit heavier there. Currently my layer is on top of my penguins and stuff, but we're going to change that in a moment. I'm just trying to give this background a little less blocky look. I think that's pretty good. Let's also grab the Janice one, and this one I will make pretty big, just so I can get a little bit more of those sparkles in there. Okay, I actually like some of the sparkles coming through on the penguin, so we'll create a second layer for that. But for this layer that we just created, we want to drag this in our layers panel until it is underneath our watercolor clip art element there, our penguins. So we just drag it down in that layers panel, and now it is behind. And if you wanted to add a few little sparkles onto the penguins, this little sparkle brush I like, we'll just select again to come to your top layer, and then select Add Pixel Layer. It'll add it right above. And then we can just sort of sparkle up our penguins. I need to go a little bit smaller on that one. I'm saying sparkle up, but really it's sort of creating that illusion like they're in the snow. Okay. We'll come back to our designer persona, and we're going to select all of those layers, and we're going to want to bring them into our back layer. So you can move this to the top if you want by selecting move to front in the top, and then select all of your layers here. Once again, holding down the shift key and selecting the one at the top and the one at the bottom, and then dragging them in so that your cursor touches that name of that layer, which says bleed. It looks like everything stayed in order that time. We're looking pretty good. We can decide if we want to move around our snowflakes. I think all of them are good. So I'm pretty happy with that. Once again, we're going to come to that edge line and that whole line, and we want to make sure to remove those, hide them, click on the toggle icon or the eyeball. And we also want to select our bleed layer and come to that open circle on the color panel and choose no fill. This is just going to ensure we don't have any stray lines on our design. We never want that stuff to transfer. This is ready for us to export, whether you wanted to sell this or if you were planning on using it for your own project like we are. You're going to want to export each PNG separately. That's always the best way to do something like this. So we will go to File and Export. We are going to choose Selection Only. We want to make sure we have that whole group selected. And then when you click on Export, it will give you the option to save it into your File Explorer. You can do that for both of them. Also, don't forget that if you want to come back and work on this project again in the future and be able to edit those layers, or if you're trying to create this so that you can use it over and over, come to File and select Save As, and this will allow you to save the Affinity formatted file. Thank you so much for joining us. If you end up creating this fun design, show it off. We would love to see it. And be sure to follow along for the other tutorials in this series where you get to see this tag sublimated and how we plan on marketing it and gift wrapping it and all of those great things for the holiday season. The links for everything we use today are in the video description. Have a great rest of your night.